Today, we're diving into something really powerful, war poetry. And let me tell you, this isn't just about rhyming words on a page. It's about how poets wage a battle for the truth, especially when the world is busy telling a very different story.
So let me ask you something. When I say the word war, what's the first image that pops into your head? Is it all about glory and honor and noble sacrifice? For a long, long time, that was the story everyone was told. But the poets who were actually there, living through it, well, they started telling a very, very different tale.
And this contrast is everything. This is the core tension right here. On one side, you've got the glorious myth, the propaganda poster version where dying for your country is the greatest thing you can do. But on the other side, you've got the brutal reality that the poets show us, that war is physically and psychologically devastating, and it can strip a person of their very dignity.
All right, so that brings us to our first big idea, poetry's battlefield. We're going to define what this genre is all about. And here's a hint. It's less about the actual physical battlefield and more about the one that rages inside the human heart and mind during a crisis.
Okay, so let's put a pin in what this actually is. War poetry isn't just poetry about war. It's a genre that takes it head-on. It confronts it. Its whole mission is to capture the emotional truth of the experience, all the fear, the loss, the trauma, and, maybe most importantly, to shine a giant spotlight on that massive, gaping chasm between the official story and the reality of living through it.
Okay, want to see this in action? Let's jump into our next section, from glory to gore. To really get a feel for the massive shift that happened in war poetry, we're going to look at two poets from the First World War. Same war, but it's like they were writing from two completely different planets.
First up, you've got Rupert Brooke. He's writing right at the beginning of the war, when patriotism was at an all-time high. And his poem, The Soldier, is the perfect example of that idealistic view. The message is basically, hey, if I die out there, that little piece of land becomes a part of England forever. It's romantic, it's clean, it's honorable.
And then you get this, Wilfred Owen. Wow, the contrast is just staggering, isn't it? There is absolutely nothing romantic or clean here. Owen's soldiers aren't noble heroes striking a pose. No, they're bent double like old beggars, completely broken down and exhausted. This is the raw, unfiltered, ugly truth coming straight from the trenches. It's a total rejection of that idealism.
Owen's work is a masterclass in protest. So for our next section, we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to take apart his most famous poem to see exactly how he wages war against what he called the old lie. This Latin phrase right here is the target. It's the bullseye of his whole poem. It's from an ancient Roman poet, but in World War I, it was everywhere. It was the ultimate patriotic slogan. It is sweet and fitting to die for one's country. Owen takes this celebrated, noble idea and just rips it to shreds, exposing it as the most bitter lie of all.
So how does he pull it off? It's brilliant, really. Think of it like this. He builds a beautiful, perfect classical box. The poetic form is all neat and tidy. It has a steady rhythm, it rhymes. But then, what he puts inside that beautiful box is just absolute horror. The ugly, chaotic reality of a gas attack and watching a man die. And it's that clash, that tension, between the pretty container and the ugly thing inside, that creates this incredible, devastating irony. That's his real weapon.
And this powerful technique, pitting the form of a poem against its content, wasn't just an Owen thing. A lot of war poets had a whole toolkit of tricks they used to turn their art into a weapon against propaganda. So let's open up that toolkit and see what's inside.
All right, check out this arsenal. First, you've got visceral imagery that's so realistic it's like a punch to the gut. They want you to feel it. Then they use an authentic, personal voice. It feels like you're hearing from a friend, not some official government report. And like Owen, they often use traditional poetic styles ironically, which makes the horrific stuff they're describing even more shocking. Sometimes they'd even break the poem's structure on purpose, using broken lines to mirror the chaos of the battlefield. And finally, the language is just direct. No frills, no fancy words, just the hard, unvarnished truth.
So, this all leads us to our last section, the enduring echo. Because this kind of truth-telling didn't just stop when the guns of World War I fell silent. Oh no, its legacy is still very much with us, and it brings up some fascinating questions, especially now in our own digital age.
And here's a wild one for you. Can a machine, an artificial intelligence, write war poetry? I mean, think about it. It's an algorithm that's never felt fear, never seen horror, never suffered. Can it possibly understand the truth of war well enough to write about it?
Well, someone actually tried it. They prompted an AI to write a poem about the 1971 Indo-Pak War, but specifically in the style of Wilfred Owen. And get this, the result is kind of spooky good. Just listen to these lines. The direct address to the reader, the focus on the ugly sounds of death, the rejection of patriotic songs, it ticks all the classic Owen boxes.
But let's look a little closer. On a technical level, the AI does an incredible job. It mimics the form. It gets the themes of protest and pity. It's an amazing imitation. But there's one thing missing. The most important thing. Owen's poetry is born from real, lived, gut-wrenching trauma. The AI is just observing. It's a brilliant copy, sure, but it lacks the one thing that gives this poetry its soul: personal suffering.
And really, that's the bottom line here, isn't it? An AI is a phenomenal pattern-matching machine. It can learn styles and themes, but what it can't ever replicate is authentic human witness. The true power of this poetry comes from someone who is there, someone who lived through that horror, and somehow found the words to translate that suffering into a truth that you simply cannot ignore.
Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. It's been over a century since Wilfred Owen exposed the old lie. So what are the new lies we're being told about conflict today? And more importantly, in our age of endless information and disinformation, who are today's poets, the artists, the writers, the witnesses, who are cutting through all that noise to tell us the truth?